Welcome back. In this video, we'll focus on mail merge. Now, we're going to start with this data that we've been using for the last few videos, but we're not going to relate our first example to grading or anything like that. We're going to basically try to produce a certificate. So what we need is our student roster over here. That's all we really need. One thing I noticed is that when I created my roster, it's really in no kind of order. And I can perform a simple sort by last name, which should be sufficient. Actually, probably not, because I have a lot of repetitions in here. So let's sort it by last name and then first name. So to do so, we're going to go to Home. We're going to come to the upper right and find the Sort and Filter. And for simple sort, I could simply choose one of these two options, but that would only sort by the column that I was selected in. So in this case, I'm going to go to Custom Sort. Notice that in the more recent version of Excel, it's pretty smart. It selects this block of data and ignores this block. So it's really going to do a reordering of this section without disturbing my lookup table. In prior versions, if I wanted to do this, I would have had to make that selection of this data. And failure to do so would have reordered my lookup table and rendered it pretty useless. So just be aware of that. It knows that my data has headers, and if for some reason it didn't figure that out, I would check the box. But I'm going to sort by last name, first name, okay, and there we go. Okay, so I've got 3 Dodgers, Joe, Mary, and Roger, so they're alphabetized by last name. That's true. And then by first name within those subcategories. So perfect. Let's flip over to Microsoft Word. Because in order to do a mail merge, we want to get the data from the Excel sheet, but we want to merge it into something else. And usually that's going to be a Word document. As you can see, I obtained a sample certificate from this website, hooverwebdesign.com. I'll give them full credit there. And what I would like to be able to do is personalize this Clean Desk Award. So put somebody's name on it, put the date and the year, and then put my signature on it. So to start with, I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to pick a text box. And we'll just pick a simple one is probably the best. Note that it pushes my document out of the way. This is actually a picture. So in order to change that, I'm going to go to Format, Text Wrap, and choose In Front of Text. And that will let this text box float on top. Next, if you notice, it covers up things, so just a good practice. It's not essential in this case, but I'm going to take my shape fill and set it to no fill so that it's only the text that shows up and not the box itself. And I definitely have to go to the shape outline and set that to no outline because I don't want a box to appear around it. Now I'm going to drag this out so that it's the same length of my line. Let's type a sample name in there. So Joe Smith Barney Williamson, whatever, and I don't care about the misspelling. So I want to account for a longish name in case I have one in my class. If I don't, that's okay. It'll just center on the line. So I'll go to Home and Center to make that happen. I will choose a nice font. Brush script is nice for this. And once I choose the font, I can find a size that's going to work well. Then I can position it. I can grab this box and I can position it vertically, making sure that the edges of my box are still on the line. And perhaps this name is a little bit much, so let's make it a little bit shorter and see if I can make the size a little bit bigger. Yeah, that works well. Now another way to move this, I can click and drag it but if I click on the edge, when I have the four-sided arrow, I'll also be able to do movement through my arrow keys on the keyboard, and that's really a good method for fine-tuning. So there you go. Now if the name were shorter, because I'm centered, it'll just center, so that will work out fine. I could go insert another text box here, but I think I'm going to copy this one, Control C in this case, and and paste it, because that will save me some of my formatting. I certainly will have to do some formatting here on the, let's say this is going to be the 3rd day of September that I'm going to do this. And I will shorten my box. And you can see that down here that font is probably large. But I'm going to wait for a second, because really the defining section here I think is going to be the month, because that's going to be the longest. So let me copy this and paste it. Move that over here. And I happen to know that I'm going to be doing this in October. October is much too big. Just get the whole thing so I can select it, and I'll say that what's a good size for that? 26, 28. Of course, I'm not limited to those sizes. I can just come in here and type whatever I want. Let's try 32. Resize my box. And then position it where I want it. Okay, that looks good. So I'm thinking a 32 is good. And I will just make everything on that particular line at 32 so that it matches up. If I'd been smart, I would have done the month first, and then I could have just copied and pasted and saved that extra step. In this case, I will copy and paste one more time, saving all of those settings. Get this thing posted on the line, positioned on the line rather. I'll call that 2016. I accidentally took away the centering. There. Now, of course, I can zoom into this to double check my positioning. Okay, we'll say that's good. Now, perhaps this is a better fit for my signature. Let's see. So I'll copy that, paste it. There it is. That font size is a little more appropriate. And that's good. I'll say I don't want my name to appear larger than the student's name, so maybe I'll just bring it down a hair. In this, I do want to get the capitalization and everything perfect on this one, because this is going to be the actual, there's no need for me to substitute this out each time. I can just leave this box in here as a signature. Okay, so I've got my basic form set up. And now what I want to do is I want to change this Joe Smith to be a dynamic field where each student's name gets populated into the space. So maybe I'll start by deleting it, backspace over it. And what I want to do is go to Mailings, select Recipients, and use an existing list. I'm going to find my Excel document and open it. It's going to show me all the tables that are in there. and I used the lookup table was the first example where I had student names. But let me check. But I've actually resorted these in the mail merge, table. So let's come back and grab that one. Now, once you've grabbed it, this insert mail merge field will light up because now it has some fields to insert. I'm going to put in the first name. Remember, you're going to need a space in there, and then I'm going to insert the last name. And there you go. Now, if you may see this when you first do it, and that's fine, there's a toggle here that lets you go between the name of the field and an example of what's in that field. Now, note these double carets on each side, the less than sign, greater than sign. This is not something you can just type in. You can't just type this in the name of the field and expect it to work. You do have to first select the data source and then insert the fields from here. Now, these buttons up here will tell me what record I'm on. So I'm currently on row 1, but if I go, let me preview results. Here's Mary Dodger, 3 is Roger Dodger, Joe Jones, Mary Jones, Sarah Jones, and I can page through the entire document and see different rows, different places. So there I'm on 1 again. Now when you're done and you want to print, you could of course take this and print a single document and go to the next one, but there's a much easier way. If you go to Finish and Merge, Edit Individual Documents, I would suggest. And now I'm going to merge them all in my case, but if I didn't need to, let's say that I had printed these out previously and it was only, let's come back to Excel. It was only the kings that needed to be repeated. So that's row 8 through row 11. So if that was the case, I could just say that. I could say, please get me from row 8 to 11. Okay. It's going to produce another copy of the document. So there's Joe King, Mary King, Roger King. Ooh, Elvis Lee, what happened there? The problem is that when you're doing a mail merge, it's not going to count that top row with the header data. So even though they were actually rows 8 through 11, what I really wanted was rows 7 through 10. So I wanted to subtract 1 to account for the header. Now notice, this says letters word. This is a separate document. I have 2 of them here. This is the template I'm using. This letters word is not a dynamic template. This is where the data has been put in here and a copy has been made for each student. So I'm just going to close that without saving. And that way, when I finish my merge, I can adjust that. I can say, I really want 7 through 10. It produces letters too. There's Elvis, Joe, Mary, and Roger King. So perfect. That's how I can take a subset of my data, and that's useful, especially if you're running something for students once a year, say, and then you have new students come in. So you can just run the last couple of rows as necessary. I'm not going to save that either because I want to show you what a copy looks like when we simply do them all. And now you can see it has 18 records, which is perfect since our data has 19 rows. So it's excluding this header row and it's taking the next 18. And at this point, you can either file print or file save and then print later. So either way, you'll get your certificates.